See? Huh? I'm sure nobody saw that. Hey guys, welcome. And then you have to figure out, when she changes the part of my hair and then this camera is backwards. I guess it's not really backwards. That's how y'all see me. Isn't that weird to see yourself? Okay. Am I loud? La 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 la. I'm so excited about my microphone. I feel very Joe Rogan-y-ish.
Just a little bit.
It's too loud?
Yeah, try moving it back away from you a little bit.
Forwards, backwards. It's like we're in some sort of yoga class. Okay, how is that? How is that?
That's good.
Testing 1-12-93. Is that what people do when they're testing? All right, kids, welcome to June. It's June. Can you believe it? I can. It's June 7th. That's so exciting. All right, so what are the questions from the children? Hey, y'all. Thank you for the rose. Thank you for all the love. We love everybody back that loves us, even the people that, might need to be dunked in a pool of water. Is it June 6th? Is it June 6th? Okay, it's June 6th. You guys are so picky. Is it June 6th in Australia? I don't know. It's June 6th-ish. Yeah. Oh, thanks, you guys. We appreciate it. All right, with your pink tank top, or blue, or red, or fuchsia.
All right, so we had some Facebook comments.
Okay.
How is eligibility for IEP with OHI versus an SLD determined? We are entering the process to qualify for OHI for ADHD. What should I expect?
Well, you should be suspicious. No, I'm just kidding. So, an OHI, other health impairment, is a medical condition that's acute, that's expected to impact an individual for a lifetime and may be treated with medicine. A specific learning disability is a student that has an unexpected area of deficit in his cognitive processing and achievement standards. They're two different things, although they still usually are first cousins. So you don't have to choose one or the other. Hopefully you can expect that the evaluation was done with fidelity and ethically. The evaluation for the SLDs needed to include 7 Gs and formal achievement in writing, reading, math, and then additionally I would ask for listening comprehension, oral expression. ADHD is reported observations on patterns and behaviors of a student that impact their educational day. So it's not one or the other. You want to make sure that you have, we do evaluations in all areas, so we identify or eliminated any area of educational need for your student.
Perfect. Perfect. And then we have 2 more. Rachel on Facebook said, what school classroom worksheets do I need to keep to show current levels? I'm drowning in way too much paperwork. ADHD, dyslexia with suspected dyscalculia, and dysgraphia.
So, I don't know that you need to keep worksheets. What's really important are identifying areas of gaps and ongoing underachievement by a student. So I'm going to be looking at the BOY, the MOY, and the EOY, the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year as it relates to testing for reading. I'm going to be looking at the WCPMs, the words correct per minute, and then also, of course, their math presentation. So you look at what is the state standard and kind of address how big the gap is.
All right, and then the last one from Facebook is from Felicia. She said, what do I do if the school refuses to even evaluate my son for an IEP? He is autistic and diagnosed with ADHD, plus we suspect a specific math disability. The school says he isn't failing, and there isn't a discrepancy between his intelligence and his achievements based on the Raven 5 and the WRAT, so there isn't a need to evaluate him.
So the Raven 5, is that like one of the football players from Baltimore? I'll be here all night. So that's shenanigans. So should somebody at the school deny you testing, they are required by law to provide you a prior written notice, which has 7 components. We just went over it last week in our procedural safeguards series on the Academy. You're welcome to join we'll give you a 2-week free membership. But what you don't know is problematic and it penalizes your student. So I don't know how somebody could understand what a child's IQ is or intelligence if they've never formally tested it. So, of course, you're going to ask for that denial in writing. I always say, should you choose to deny the parent XYZ, please provide that denial to us by close of business in writing. And then they go, we didn't mean that. That's actually the sound that they make in Louisiana. I don't know what they make where you live, but is that the sound they make?
Correct.
Yeah.
Parents are opting out for ESY just today. Starts next week. Process to opt out? ?
So ESY is a gift and it's an offer, and it's not even, you're not even opting out. If a parent can't participate or chooses not to participate, that's completely fine. Again, ESY is solely for maintaining progress and gains on an IEP. It's not always able for the parent to get the child to ESY. They have to go to work. They have a life. It's not always conducive for families.
All right, this one is, how do you help a student socialize with peers when he is content by being alone?
So that's a deficit, right? So we identify kids that struggle socially and emotionally. And just like somebody taught you math, somebody can teach you social strategies and strengths. And so we would identify that area of concern in the present levels, and we would write an IEP goal around it. Depending on the acuity of the need, we would write service minutes around that as well.
All right, and Vivian said, what is the eval called to ask for a one-to-one instructional aid?
So there's no evaluation to ask for a one-on-one. A one-on-one is when the student is not successful without it. When the student is not successful without it. So it's very rare that I'm going to have a kiddo that has a one-on-one. There are problems with a one-on-one. Not only are there benefits, there's problems. It skews the data. Kids get very attached to their one-on-one, and then it's hard to know if there's any GMF, any generalization, maintenance, and fluency, because we have a one-on-one. But certainly kiddos that are in danger to themselves or others might rise to the level of needing a one-on-one, or depending on the acuity of certain needs, they might need it for certain parts of the day.
Perfect. And then this one says the school is saying their 3-year-old is autistic. However, the outside evaluation just shows a delay. What should they do?
So when you say that the school says a 3-year-old is autistic, I'm going to assume that you asked the school to test them. So if you don't want your child to be in special education and you don't believe they have a disability, remember that special education services and provision of services are consensual. So you can not provide consent for special ed services or revoke consent. Sometimes when kiddos are little, it's hard to tell, right? Is it a developmental delay? Is it a disability? For me, I would err on the side of getting intervention. And if you believe the intervention the school is providing could help your kiddo, then I would certainly consider doing that.
Perfect. Can you ask accommodations when they are placed for a workplace?
So a 504 or an IEP both have accommodations in a school setting. So ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, is from the time you get here till the time you leave the planet. Accommodations under a 504 or accommodations in an IEP are those same accommodations in a school setting. So certainly if I'm an adult, I hope I am, if I'm an adult and I need accommodations at work, that falls under the Americans with Disabilities Act, and those are based on your disability and your needs, for sure.
And they're laughing at I hope I'm an adult.
Well, I'm not always, if you look at TikTok, some people do not believe that I'm an adult. Is that correct, Alicia?
Correct. Okay,
yes.
Sorry. That was funny.
I mean, I feel like I'm an adult. I have adult paperwork, but, you know.
I got adult bills.
I got adult bills. I got adult lines in my forehead, if that helps.
All right. Nicole asks, if my child is being placed in an elementary school that is not her home school, can I appeal that?
So if they're being placed in a school because that's where the program is, there's nothing to appeal. If you want that program to be at your home campus, it's just not the way it works. I would love to have every program and every service and every option at every campus, but the percentage of children with disabilities don't warrant that. So if that is the campus that can properly serve your student, then I would certainly accept it.
Okay, so we have a follow-up from our 3-year-old autistic school eval.
Mm-hmm.
They said that the outside evaluation just showed a speech delay, and the school won't take him out of ECSE.
And the school won't take him out of what?
ECSE.
Well, to be in ECSE, you have to have a speech delay, at minimum. And so are you saying if you don't agree to the autism, they're only going to give him speech? I don't think I fully understand the question. I'm sorry.
Okay, maybe she'll follow up again.
Okay.
Kelly Jean said, what is the process, meaning the time frame, of amending an initial IEP?
I mean, there's no time frame. If I receive an IEP and I said, this is great, but like I got an IEP the other day from Florida, and they did an evaluation in 2 Gs. 2 Gs. So she's going to need to amend that because it's not complete. At minimum, you have to do 5 Gs. So I'm going to assume that she will agree to the amendment. Those happen during instructional days, though.
Alrighty, and then Carrie said, what qualifies a kid for a para?
So same question, what qualifies a kid for a para is that they need one-on-one support to be successful in a setting.
Perfect. I didn't know if maybe she wasn't here earlier. Inspired said, how can I get a student to stop, how can I get the school to stop giving my child a Chromebook? He rages with all the computer programs.
So you make an accommodation that he's not allowed to have a Chromebook. So I have kiddos in their IEP, they're not allowed to have a phone. They're not allowed to have any electronic device. It's not beneficial for them. The American Pediatric Association will tell you that any minor, and this has been over 40 years, any minor shouldn't hold a screen in front of their face for more than 60 minutes. So there's that.
Okay, and then life skills class my daughter is in has no teacher certified instead. What do I do?
So I would ask...
How do I get the principal to take my concerns seriously? Sorry, there was a follow-up.
So how you get the principal to take your concerns seriously is that my student is being denied the totality of his IEP, as there's no special education teacher there. Is that something you can rectify, or do we need to look at out-of-district placement at the district expense? And then you would go like this. Boom. Muffin.
All right. Kids starting 6th grade in the fall is moving to a charter school. The current IEP is lacking. Can I request a new evaluation?
Whew. You can always request a new evaluation. I'm just going to tell you lovingly, charter schools struggle to provide a provision of IDEA that's needed for kiddos. I know that's not what you want to hear, but I've never had a child that was successful on an IEP in charter school. Never. Yeah, but you might be in a unicorn situation, but you can certainly ask for a new evaluation anytime the child needs it.
Perfect. I'm going to ask 4 more and then pass it on.
FOMO.
Tara said, where are you in Louisiana? I'm in the southwest quadrant of Louisiana, ma'am.
No, she's not. She's 10 miles from the border. So she's basically Louisianan Texan, and that's why she speaks English, but she lives in another country.
Over southwest Louisiana, ma'am. Sorry, Jude wanted to say hi.
Hi, Jude.
So, back to the 3-year-old. The school is trying to claim that the 3-year-old child is autistic in order to keep him in ECSE. Is that needed?
I mean, I don't know what the school's claiming or not claiming. If you don't think that he needs services around an eligibility of autism, then I would not provide consent for those services.
All right. Do we have to write a letter to the school saying we opt out of House Bill 4545?
Ain't no letter. Just say my friend Karen said, not interested.
All right.
They'll know who your friend Karen is. They'll know who that is.
Oh, they all know.
They know.
Naisha said, can a student receiving a diploma continue on to transition through the LEA under IDEA?
Yeah, so they don't usually receive a diploma their senior year because they're still receiving services under IDEA. When they finish their time in the 18 to 22 program, whenever that is, that's when they're awarded their diploma.
We're just all going to give Maria a round of applause because her and her co-teacher fought for a student and finally got him diagnosed.
Yay! God bless teachers.
Amen.
Did Maria have to bite anybody on the ankle or smack them with a pool noodle? That's really the question I want to know. I feel like there was a pool noodle involved.
Correct. Melissa, last one for me. State complaint, compensatory education, order for student, anything that requires CE. Jude, you're interrupting a global enterprise, sir. All right, sorry. Starting over. Melissa said, state complaint, compensatory education ordered for student, anything that requires CE be completed within 1 year of findings. Question mark? I don't know what any of that means.
Yeah, so the compensatory education, almost always the state's going to put a timeline on it. Even the federal government, when I have federal decisions or federal settlements, they like it wrapped up with a bow within a year. That's certainly something you can negotiate with the state or the district or the city or county if we can find a way to extend it a little bit. But that's pretty standard.
All right. And the last one, I'm going to give it to Christina.
I thought that was the last one before that.
Well, I know, but Christina didn't unmute herself, so I just went with one more. That's fine. Okay. All right. My daughter just graduated and had or has a 504. What does this mean for college?
Nothing. So she received accommodations in school. If she needs accommodations at work or in college, if she extends her educational plan, you meet with the disability board at your college that she's going to and determine the accommodations that she needs for college.
Okay. Carly asked, can we talk about signing the eligibility evaluation report? Is it a requirement of IDEA?
So, I mean, you know, we get in the minutia and the weeds about signing. I feel like this whole signing thing. So, I mean, it doesn't really make a difference. I think that you want to capture a signature and your position at any IEP meeting. I'm going to capture my position. There's nothing worse than me getting opening packets for clients all over the nation and they never disagreed or their position wasn't captured. So, you're going to go through the evaluation meeting and we're going to say, as a committee, we agree that he meets eligibility for this, this, and this, or not, or part, or whatever. Sign that you agree. Sign that you partially agree. Sign that you agree, except for this one thing. Sign that you agree and you want an IE for this area, but sign and capture your position. Otherwise, you're giving your voice away, and I never do that.
Exactly. Okay. So, Angelina wanted to say that you are awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Courtney says, I'm new here. Do you help in IEP meetings? We have no idea what we're doing.
I feel like I help at IEP meetings. It depends on who you are at the table. But absolutely, I represent families in IEP meetings. I do about 500 IEP meetings a year from coast to coast. And then we have a team of partners that are just as trained as I am that can help you with your kiddos. So you would just email us at advocate at specialeducationacademy.com.
Perfect. All right, question is, what qualifies a student to receive a behavior tech?
A behavior tech?
Yeah, so probably a BCBA is probably what they're...
So we use these words sort of interchangeably. If a student needs behavioral support... that's based on the acuity of their disability. And then we determine when that's needed. But, yeah, I mean, there are kids that rise to that level for sure.
All right, Adriana asked, my daughter was determined eligible for special education services based on dyslexia and dyscalculia, but neither the school or the doctor says they can test or diagnose. How do I go about that?
Well, so neither one of those are served under special education. It's important to remember under IDEA, we talk about dyscalculia, dysgraphia, dyslexia, but those aren't special education eligibilities. It's very important when we're looking at a child and they may have one of those areas of need that we ask for full testing. So I'm going to ask for testing in the area of cognition in all 7 Gs. And of course, if there's dyslexia there, it will show up, or if any other SLD. And then achievement in writing, reading, and math. And then additionally add listening comprehension or oral expression. Respectfully, schools do very little for dyscalculia or dysgraphia. They usually provide a very good general ed product for dyslexia, but depending on the acuity of your child's disability, they may not be sufficient.
All right, very good. So next question is, does ADHD qualify a child for an IEP or a 504? I was told by his guidance counselor that ADHD only qualifies for a 504.
Shocking. I'm so surprised to hear that for the 4 millionth time this lifetime. So, if you have ADHD, you may qualify for a 504 or you may qualify for an IEP. So a 504 means that you just need accommodations, a little bit extra than what the general ed teacher does. If you need to learn strategies and skills to mitigate the impact of your disability, then you need an IEP. So we'll have IEP goals. We'll work on those characteristics of your disability that impact you at school, and we'll have special education minutes around that. So the answer is always you want the IEP. Always, 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 always. Did I say always? Yeah, I'm gonna go with always.
Agree, always. All right. Are SPED teachers allowed to give RTI to students without an IEP?
Correct. Yeah, RTI is, you can give that to any student, of course.
Excellent. All right. Question is it typical for my son's special education team to talk to me like I'm an idiot every call or meeting?
So I find when people are in a meeting and they begin to attempt to speak to me with less value than I know that I have, they're either ill-equipped at the meeting or they're hiding something. So I will just say, it seems like you're uncomfortable in this meeting. Do we need to take a break and reconvene when other district members can be here so we can have a successful business meeting? So I call out any ridiculousness when it happens. I can't sit in a meeting where we can't discuss business decisions. And if you are uncomfortable speaking to me, I certainly understand that. We'll need to get other people in here at the district so we can have a meeting about my child's future and his success and his educational product that he deserves by state and federal law.
Okay. How do I go about requesting an AVT for a DHH child with CIs?
What? Is that some sort of Rubik's Cube that we just did there? I don't know what that means. And a UPS for a FedEx for an OPI, what was that?
Right. AVT for DHH. Okay. I know one of the acronyms. The other two are maybe state specific.
Are you asking for assistive technology for a child who's deaf and hard of hearing? But I mean, you're going to ask for an assistive technology evaluation, and there's 2 kinds of assistive technology evaluation you can ask for. Specific to educational needs are going to be written expression or communication. As it relates to DHH or vision impairment or deaf blind, you're going to ask for an assistive technology evaluation around those deficits.
All right. My son lost over 1,000 minutes over 3 years. How does the school go about making up for that?
The school doesn't make up for anything unless you require them to. So this notion that somehow somebody who dropped the ball is going to call you and go, listen, Karen, we blew it. That's never going to happen. When parents and guardians and surrogate parents learn to complain and exercise their legal dispute resolution options in a way that's professional and effectual, then that will bring about change. But I've never had a school go, hey, listen, Christina, sorry, that's not going to happen.
All right. I love that through my trainings, I'm knowing more and more of these answers as I go along with you.
Oh, good.
Yay. All right. And I'm going to ask 2 more, and then Miss Shannon is up.
Okay.
Okay. Um, okay. Accommodations and support examples for aggression on the playground. How do you...
So if you have aggression on the playground, you don't need accommodations. You need specially designed instruction, right? An accommodation changes how you learn. A modification changes what you learn. So obviously, if you're aggressive on the playground, you need some targeted intervention to teach a skill set that the student doesn't have.
Perfect. And then last one for me is, what do I do if I don't agree with the teacher progress reports?
You just take them and you just tear them up really obnoxiously in the parking lot line, and then roll over on the concrete and throw a fit. So if you don't agree with them, you need to quantify what you don't agree with. If they don't capture the IEP progress, if they don't capture the totality of the educational need, it's important that I have my family show up with their own data. So I often do a 3-minute cold read, a 3-minute cold write. I will compare their writing samples to the state standard. So let's say that your child is a 4th grader and their writing is a hot mess. If you go onto your state's website and put in 4th grade writing samples, the state will have examples of what would be an expected 4th grade writing to look like, so you can compare those. You can look at 90 years of oral reading fluency on eric.gov. That will tell you the WCPMs, the words correct per minute, that students should be reading at grade levels. There's lots of data that you can show up with.
All right, Madam Shannon.
All right, Eric asked a question. My son in residential is doing well with 24-hour care. Now school department wants to send him home.
Send him home based on he's getting 24-hour care. We make decisions based on one 4-letter word, data. So if he's in residential care and he's not even going back to the school district, what would quantify him coming home? Nothing. So when we have a student that's at out-of-district placement, however that happens, we have a reintegration plan. It's a legal responsibility when a student goes to out-of-district placement. So that plan should have been talked about, and the inception of that plan should have begun at the first out-of-district placement meeting. So we are happy to have a meeting to talk about the reintegration plan that needs to begin.
Why are schools so hesitant to evaluate and make IEP and accommodations if they get state funding?
The why is not the focus, the what next. The why doesn't help any of us. All that matters is that you have to do what you need to do for your students, your children, or somebody that you love to make sure that that student gets the services they need. What I can tell you that the squeaky wheel, a good squeaky wheel, always gets the oil. And in special education, whether it was 1975 or 2023, you're going to have to be the effective squeaky wheel. And the effective squeaky wheel doesn't move their position. So that's what's important, not why, but what's next.
My daughter has eligibility under ASD, newly diagnosed with ID. Can we have a dual eligibility?
So it's not about having dual eligibility. A student either has an eligibility or eligibilities, and based on those, we provide them specially designed instruction. So I have kids that have 4 eligibilities. I have kiddos that have an SLD in 4 areas. So we provide specially designed instruction around the acuity of their unique circumstances. So the law says that we write an IEP to enable the student to make progress appropriate in light of their unique circumstances, and their eligibilities are part of their unique circumstances.
School is supposed to evaluate a 5-year-old for AAC before kindergarten, but tomorrow is the last day of school and they've heard nothing.
So it seems like it didn't happen. So I would email them and say, have you completed the AAC evaluation? I've not received a copy of it yet. And depending on their response, you would say, when would you like me to make my student available over the summer so you can complete the AAC evaluation that you agreed upon? Otherwise, I'm concerned that you would be out of compliance.
What can a special ed teacher do when admins won't provide a one-to-one even though the IEP states it?
So when you won't provide a provision the conformity of the IEP, you're denying the student a free, appropriate public education, and you are harming him. So it appears that you are unable to implement his IEP, so we need to look at out-of-district placement at the expense of the LEA.
Can you deny classroom placement or services?
So provision of special education and related services are consensual. If you don't consent to the services, then the school doesn't have the legal right to deliver them.
Would a student record show things I had no idea about, referring to your video about pulling records?
Yes. So when you ask for a FOIA, FERPA request, Freedom of Information Act, the Family Education Protective Act records, you're going to get information you probably don't want, maybe about you, maybe about your amazing advocate. But I would rather see the information and be able to make an informed decision than to be in the dark about my child's needs. Yes, you will always see stuff that will be surprising.
How can you remove behaviorists from the IEP team?
So you can't remove anybody from the school-based members any more than they could remove you, right? If I said, I'm bringing Shannon, we don't like Shannon. Okay. Well, I, as the parent, have the right to bring anybody to support me, and so does the school district. You could certainly say the behaviors that you bring is disruptive to the meeting, so we would like a different behaviorist from the district to speak on that position. And I've had it where there's a new person in that position and that person still comes to the meeting. I don't care if 100 people come to the meeting, but the people in the meeting need to be ready to sit down and get to work to develop an IEP so the student can be successful.
Can a district use an IEP from preschool for a second grader? Shouldn't it be updated?
That could still theoretically be within three years, but you certainly need to make sure that you've done your triennial, which is every 3 years we're supposed to look at doing new testing, and certainly you can ask for new testing as the parent.
We are meeting with the school district and transitioning from the birth to 3-year-old program. Top 3 tips when meeting with the school district.
Student focused, right? And then make sure that you have your questions ready, right? That you have them. It's sort of like when you go into the doctor. It's sort of like an IEP means like going into the grocery store without a list. Like you get to the car and go, the one thing I needed was paper napkins. I didn't get them. So, and remember, it's your meeting. It's your meeting about your child. So if you don't get all your questions answered, just say that we'll need to table this meeting and come back and we can complete it. And don't be rushed. It's about your child's destiny and them being a successful adult for the 80 years after they graduate high school.
If there are divergent results from a private versus school evaluation in OT for a 504, what happens?
So if you disagree with the evaluation, you can always ask for an independent education evaluation at the expense of the district.
The school will not create a physical visual schedule. What can we do?
I would put that
involve the superintendent.
So I would put that in writing. I just want to confirm at our meeting that you denied my student this schedule. Can you please respond why that's the district's position? I'm going to require them to put it in writing.
What do you ask for SLD testing in California? They don't test at triennial.
They do. I think that you guys have just fallen into the shenanigans of what people tell you. Certainly reach out to your state Department of Education. I have found that every state Department of Education, everyone, is lovely. And so I would reach out to the Department of Education for California and say, I've been informed by my district that we don't test for that. Can you please confirm that that's in your state statute? It isn't. And then I would go back to the meeting and say, I just talked to Betty or Tommy or Billy or Joey at the state, and there is their email saying, of course you can test in these areas. When can I come in and sign notice and consent for this testing that's allowed by the state?
Evaluation requested in February, and they haven't scheduled it yet. What should be done?
So the school has 15 days, 15 calendar days, 15 paper days to respond to your request for testing. if it's past that, it's called a denial of an evaluation, which you could file at the state level or the federal level. So they've blown right past their compliance issues.
How do I get an AAC evaluation for my 3-year-old? She is diagnosed autistic and apraxia. School wants to wait.
Yeah, I don't want to wait. No professional would say wait. We intervene as soon as we have a need. A child at 2.5, I just know this because I just did this for a family, should have almost 600 words. And so waiting is never a good model as it relates to educational need.
Are statements such as, when she feels like it, on progress notes discrimination?
Yes, because those are assumptive. You have no idea what she feels, nor are you her psychiatrist. That's a perception from an outcome. So I might put, she struggles to complete a task, but I certainly wouldn't say something as discriminatory as when she feels like it, because I didn't know that you were the feeling police. You might leave that last part off.
Would you recommend giving general education teachers and paras a copy of the IEP?
Well, it's not a recommendation, it's a requirement.
Son will be an 8th grader and has an IEP. I want him to join the next FARD meeting. What are your thoughts?
No. What I would do is I would capture his thoughts, and then I would read them at the IEP meeting and have those attached to the deliberation or the PPT notes or the case conference notes. I have never seen a need for a child with a disability in an IEP meeting. And that's my position. People can disagree with it. An IEP meeting sometimes is even a place for adults. It's rarely a place for children. And I certainly don't want a child to be manipulated in the meeting, or worse, manipulated afterwards. Like, why did you say that? So, but certainly if you want to capture his position, which I do as an advocate, if you were my client, I would certainly meet with your kiddo and say, my job is to be your voice. That's what advocates do, however, whether you're the parent, a school-based member, or a paid advocate. So how can I share your voice with the committee?
Is the school required to provide a BCBA upon request?
No. There's no requirement under IDEA for that. They're certainly required to provide behavioral support if there's a behavioral need.
Does small group time with a reading teacher count in the out-of-classroom time?
It depends. It depends on what we're doing during that time. It depends on how big the gap is.
Son started high school when COVID hit and online. He failed all classes and still trying to get caught up to grade level. Anything that IEP could help him with?
So if he's still online, you're going to struggle to get the intervention he needs. And I understand that people have taken that option, but it's not very successful very often with kids with disabilities. They need that hands-on instruction from an educator.
Child is being expelled, but school does not want to do FBA. What do I do?
So if the child's being expelled for behavior and he's under an IEP or a 504, that's a requirement because we would have had to have an MDR, a manifestation determination resolution meeting.
All right, hang on, I'm going through them.
Shannon, I'm gonna tell you.
Okay. You got one?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
All right, Karen,
Alicia?
tell everybody what happens in exactly 14 minutes.
We have the Academy, Special Education Academy. We're in the middle of a training series for procedural rights, parents' rights, and the child with disability. And if you would like to join us, you can do that. We'll give you a 2-week code to join for free. And if you want to stay, you can you pay after that. It's $47 a month. We train for about 8 hours live every month on Tuesday nights. And then the great Alicia will tell you how you sign up for that on the thing of the deal right now.
Yes, so you're going to go to www.specialeducationacademy.com. You're going to go to the training tab. Under the training tab, it's going to be the third option called the Academy. You're going to click on that. You're going to put in all your information, including your credit card information. But then at the bottom, there's a little button if you're not looking for it, you're gonna miss it. It says coupon code. You're gonna type in that coupon code TikTok Live in all caps. That is T for Timothy, I for Indigo, K for Karen, T for Timothy, O for Oliver, K for Karen, L for Levi, I for Indigo, V for Victory, E for Elephant. All caps, TikTok Live.
Oh.
And there is a video pinned to the top of Karen's TikTok page that'll give you those step-by-step instructions.
Thank
so you can join us in 13 minutes.
And I'll have the same outfit. It's very exciting.
Yes, all right. And then, what do we have coming up in 2 weeks? Not this weekend, but next weekend.
Brush your teeth at night. Oh, in 2 weeks we have oh, that's every night. So we have a 2-day in-person intensive, and then the middle of July we have a 2-day intensive that's virtual. So you can be anywhere in the great globe of the United States, of the United States, of the world, of the globe, and log on. So it'll be a live 2-day virtual, but it'll be exciting. They're all exciting, aren't they, Alicia?
All very exciting because I'm there.
Exciting, yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. You ready for rapid fire questions?
Yep.
It's my favorite part of the night. Go for it.
Christina just did it again, didn't she?
She did.
She's going to have to stay after class. She definitely is going to have to go to ESY for that.
Perfect. All right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. How does someone consult us for an IEP review that they currently have?
Yeah, so we do records review. So you would just email advocate@specialeducationacademy.com, and any of our team members will do records review for you. So we review your records based on our opening document request, and then we'll set up a Zoom to go over what we see, what may be needed, recommendations, and next steps.
All right, this one is 9th graders math is on a 2nd grade level. Do they have to be in 1 grade level math?
So if the math deficit is that profound, you're probably going to need at least resource or modified in-class support. I would say resource. I wouldn't say a 7-year gap is meaningful to stay in class.
All right, if you're trying to get an IEP, would you go with a psychologist or a psychiatrist for an ADHD diagnosis?
So you don't need either. You will need somebody, if there's a consideration for ADHD, to fill out the OHI form. The other health impairment form must be filled out by a medical professional who knows about your child's disability.
All right, what do you do if an out-of-district placement request is denied?
Well, you consider your dispute resolution options based on the reason for the denial.
How long would you give after asking for daily data sheets? How long would you give them to give them to you?
I would give them 10 business days.
My school is cutting my son's hour for ECSE or PPCD. Is there anything I can do to stop this?
So we change service delivery models based on data. So I'd want to be provided the data that supports that decision.
All right. Does the assessment plan prior written notice the 15-day deadline pause during the summer?
Yes, that's only for instructional days.
When you ask for a policy number and they give you a fake paperwork, is that the same?
No. If it's a policy in your state, I can print it out. Yes.
Measure data. What is the best way to do so?
So when you're measuring an IEP goal, you should be taking that data in some sort of way of capturing it each time you work on that IEP goal.
Yes. These are repeat questions. Can the special education teacher be sued for not implementing the one-on-one on an IEP because the SPED co-op or coordinator won't hire one?
So I'm not an attorney. That hasn't been my experience, but I'm not saying it couldn't happen.
Okay. Child is going into 7th grade, but is at a 4th grade level. What should they do?
Well, it depends on what you're at a 4th grade level for. Certainly, you're going to need specially designed instruction around that deficit. We need to figure out why the deficit is there. Is that neurological? Is it cognitive? Is it processing? And then based on that, then we can write an IEP around it.
All right. Someone asked what your background is. Were you a SPED teacher?
I am not a teacher. I would have had to graduate from a college. I'm a certified mediator for the family courts, and I have a Sam's card and a Costco card, but I am not a college graduate. There's no requirement for a degree or a specific degree to be an advocate. I'm allowed in my state to interpret state and federal special education law without being a litigator. And the hearing officers since 2015 have allowed me to represent families all the way through due process.
All right. If your child has selective mutism and autism, how can you prevent child interviews?
So, I mean, I don't know what a child interview would be. I mean, if you needed to interview a child for an evaluation, then we just capture that data. The student was unsuccessful during the interview.
All right. Can you say the email again?
advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. And yes, I am a comedian. I'm an official comedian. It's like two officials. Can you get that printed up, Alicia, so I can get my official comedian certificate?
I'm going to get you an official comedian certificate and an advocate certificate and a Costco certificate. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
This one says, where can you get the paperwork for the OHI?
Yeah, it's a pretty standard form. Every state has it. So, I mean, if you want to reach out to your Department of Education, it's a standard form. It says the student has an identified medical disability, and your medical professional will list what that is: OCD, anxiety, ADHD, epilepsy, cancer, diabetes. And then it affects the student in one of these 3 life areas, and they would need to check yes to one of them. And they sign it. That paperwork goes back to the district for consideration for eligibility.
Perfect. Can a non-certified staff member provide behavior support minutes for an IEP?
So a non-certified staff member cannot provide special education.
Very good. Sorry.
I feel like Alicia's going to go and put your pencil down. She is a teacher. She went to college and finished. Whatever.
I did.
Fancy. She's fancy like that.
Yep. I don't even know where that piece of paper's at. So, but I'll let you borrow it if you want.
Can you?
Sure.
I would also like to say about my background is IKEA. Ba-dum-bum. Is that important to know?
It is.
It
All right.
is.
It says, what should a teacher do if special education teacher isn't collecting accurate data?
You know, that's a slippery slope. We train lots of school-based members, and I would never recommend that you put your job in jeopardy to correct somebody who's not ethical.
This one is a good one. What are the repercussions are there for making an IDEA complaint for a teacher or against a teacher?
So there's no IDEA complaints against a teacher. So the complaints are filed with your state or with the federal government. So as the complainant, I'm filing on behalf of a child. If you believe a teacher is a banana head and is committing shenanigans, then I would consider filing educator misconduct on their licensure in their state.
Okay, I think this one is a follow-up for our 7th grader that's on a 2nd grade level in math.
Okay.
Does the child have to be in a grade level math given with that 7-year gap?
No,
She went to 7th grade math class.
No.
Okay. What can I do about a student who has severely injured people, broken bones, including me, Taylor? Me and you, girl. Me and you.
I hope you have an amazing administrator that's going to handle that. If you don't, please let us train you to be an amazing advocate.
From the safety of your home.
From the safety, the virtual you can be, in your bathtub or, on a cliff. We prefer that you're not in the bathtub because that's going to make it hard to type.
Summer, Karen, you're going to think I made this up. But Summer, did y'all see this? Summer said her district is saying they will not classify a student before the 4th grade.
Oh, she must be from Louisiana. The 4th grade, that's a really good time to intervene, said no one.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Rejected kindergarten IEP, meeting again versus testing. Why?
So there's no point of meeting again. Either you're going to provide the testing or you're going to deny it. I would make sure that denial comes with a complete 7-point prior written notice.
What school worksheets do I need to keep in order to show current level?
So again, I mean, you don't need worksheets, but you need to have some sort of samples of their written production. So if it's about handwriting, it's about their grades. I mean, a few pieces of each. You don't need a lot.
Yes. What if the sped teacher isn't bilingual? Can the para provide that support?
What? If the student's language is not English, the special educators would need to provide his special education in his language.
Yes. All right, Taylor said, how can I become an advocate?
So come to us. We'll happily train you at whatever level you would want. You can join the academy. We have 2-day intensives, and then we have 10-week masterminds. So advocate at specialeducationacademy.com.
All right, we have 2 minutes. Let's see how many we can get in. School wants to declassify an IEP student based on triennial, but the student hasn't met their goals. What do we do?
So this is not New Mexico, and we're talking about aliens. Paperwork from the United States is declassified. We don't you don't declassify children. They are either eligible for special education or they are ineligible. So all decisions are made by the multidisciplinary team, which the parents are 50% of.
Yes. Where can I find a resource that you can get an IEE for an assessment that the district did not do?
So you can't get an IEE for an assessment the district did not do. An IEE is because you disagree with their assessment. You have to give the school an option of doing the assessment first.
So what if, follow up, what if you requested special education testing originally, like your first request, and they deny that? Then you can request an IE?
So if they denied the request for an evaluation, you want to make sure that you have a 7-point prior written notice that's filled out completely. If it doesn't meet all those components, then I would go back to the team and bring your data that quantifies why you would need special education testing.
All right. Can the school obligate a second grader with an IEP to finish school at home?
No. Home is not an educational setting under IDEA.
All right. It's 8 o'clock. We got to jump over to the academy.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate you guys being here. We'll see you in the academy. Remember, we get it right for the child. We get it right for everybody. And we'll see you guys in the next training.